Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today's guest is Andrew Crapuchettes, and he's the CEO and founder over at RedBalloon.work. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Adam, and hello, everybody. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day.
All right, man. So we got a lot to cover today. So we're going to talk about hiring for values alignment. Of course, I want to get further into what you're doing over at Red Balloon and really your story. But before we do all that, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So Andrew, at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Andrew, what mission matters to you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. And for me, when you meet someone new, you ask them, what do you do? And you're asking them what their job is. But the question kind of portrays that a job is not just a 9 to 5 hobby. It's an opportunity to have a vocation. It's a defining feature of everyone's life. And so what matters to me is putting people in jobs where they can be fulfilled, where they can work really hard, and where they can be free. And if I can accomplish that at scale in our nation, then I feel like I will die happy. So we want freedom in the workplace. We want to make hiring fun again in America. That's what matters to me, and that's my mission.
It's great. I love bringing mission-based individuals on the show to share, why they do what they do, how they're doing, and what we all learn from that. Because the whole aim and goal of this show is that we all grow together. So again, great having you on. And I guess just circling back to going a little bit further in history, CEO, founder, like how'd you even get into this space? Where did all that begin?
Okay. Yeah. It started back in California. So I grew up in San Francisco Bay Area, right in the middle of the dot-com world. I had the opportunity to start working for a dot-com when I was 16 years old, believe it or not.
Come on, what?
My dad was a tech guy early on. He was at Stanford University. And so I kind of knew how to program as a 16-year-old. And if you're a 16-year-old who knows how to program in the late 90s in Palo Alto, you can kind of write your own story. And so I was given that opportunity. And so I was early on at a dot-com. Really amazing opportunity, amazing people to work with. I got to do 7 jobs in 7 years for that company, and ended up leaving as the person who was running the sales engineering group for the West Coast and Asia. Got to travel all the time as an early 20-year-old, turned 21 on an expense account, never got around to going to college because I was too busy working and earning money. But when I hit 22, we had
the ripe old age of 22, right?
The ripe old age of 22.
The ripe old age of 22. That's insane. First off, before we get to that, what was it like being a teenager in Palo Alto during that time? That's insane.
Oh, it was and
really working. Fun. You're actually working, and you're a contributor. That's crazy. What was that like?
I remember I took my first business trip when I was 19 years old. So just still barely a teenager. I went to LA and Chicago for a week each. Getting a rental car as a 19-year-old is extremely difficult.
It is hard.
And there wasn't Uber back then, right? So, but it was an amazing opportunity. And I remember my first trip to Tokyo, and I was there for 2 weeks. I was doing trainings. I was doing partner events. And it's funny when, you have a lot of VC money in the business. There aren't budgets in the same way that there probably should be, as a side note, because I would be taking customers and partners.
Not back then, but back then there was so much money. I mean, you put .com on anything, on the end of anything, and all of a sudden the valuation is insane. So back then we didn't know what we didn't know, right?
That's right. Well, and unfortunately we blew through, I think, $32 million of VC money in just a couple of years. We had a great time. I played golf in Tokyo with business people. I, had really nice bottles of wine.
That's not a cheap round.
Yeah. So it was fun, but I wouldn't recommend it when, VC money can be really helpful in the kind of formation of a business, but it also can kind of be like steroids, and it can make you grow a little too fast. And I think that's what happened because come 20, I'm 22 years old. It's year 2000. I've been working 80, 100-hour weeks. I'm burned out. The company's running out of money. And I decided, I need a life. I need a change. So I moved up to beautiful Idaho, where I am now, and decided I wanted to get away from traffic.
Oh, wow. So you left in your early 20s. Okay. Right. Like 22, 22-ish?
Yeah, that's right. I moved
up
to Idaho.
What kind of vision and foresight did you have at 22? Because that's still that's a lot. Wow, to go from there to Idaho.
Well, it was also one of those things when you're 22 years old, you can move somewhere, and if you don't like it, you can move somewhere else. And that
Hmm.
was kind of the driver is, well, I want to go try something new, try a new community,
Hmm.
try and work fewer hours. But I got up here to Moscow, Idaho. I love the community, got
Hmm.
to a great church, but there weren't a lot of good jobs. And I thought, well,
Hmm.
I've been given skills and ability. I've been given experience. I
Yeah.
should use those to make jobs for other people. And this is back to kind of what my mission is and why it matters
Yeah.
to me is I've always been passionate about prosperity for people through hard work. And
Mm.
so that's been a driver for me. And so I thought, okay, fine. I need to start creating jobs. So I kind of went on this business building tirade
Yeah.
in Moscow, and I built a 3D printing business that we ended up selling off to Stryker. We started a 3D printing or a student information software business that we did a management buyout for. We
Mm.
just had all of these different tools and pieces that we use to build businesses, create jobs, and really tried to
Yeah.
build prosperity into our little community here in Moscow, Idaho. So
Yeah.
I've been blessed to have 6 successful exits over the
Mm.
years, and been part of many more failures that I don't even want to talk about. But I have had this kind of a rodeo of an
Mhm.
adventure. I now live in Idaho on 60 acres, 10 minutes from the office,
Ooh.
with 5 kids, 3 big dogs, kind of living the American dream.
Man, that's amazing. And I wanna and I that is the dream right there. And I wanna go to those earlier days when you went from working for someone to those first businesses or even the
Yeah.
first business. Like, what was that like when you were like finally out there on your own? Like when you planted your own flag? I'm sure you had some options and some other things when you were working at the other startups, but like, what was that like?
Yeah, it's definitely a wild transition to be
Yeah.
to go from being an employee where you're kind of like, here's the things you go and do that too. Okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
throw this whole thing on my shoulders, and I'm going to take on the risks. I'm going to be hiring people that if I fail, then I'm going to have to let them go and their
Yeah.
families, and like you feel that weight of responsibility.
Weight's a
And
good word, man. That's a lot of weight.
it is. It's a weight of responsibility. I was lucky enough. My first startup that I was fully responsible for, I started with 2 other gentlemen who were older and wiser than I was.
Mm.
2 of them, they both had PhDs. They were both economists. And having other people, especially on your first startup, is really critical because it gives you
Mm.
an opportunity to kind of share that load, have people that you can bounce ideas off. There are problems that come
Yeah.
along with having co-founders, but I would recommend that if you're doing your first startup, if you can find someone you trust and you can work
Mhm.
with to do it with you, it really shares that weight of responsibility in a different way. So
Mm.
that was really helpful to me, and it was a real blessing to me in that
Yeah.
first one.
Did you feel that some of those relationships you made back in San Francisco and even those thought processes kind of carried over for you? Like, how did that translate, or did it?
Oh, absolutely. So I learned so much. It was, while I didn't go to college, I felt like I got an MBA working at that business. There were
Yeah.
just a lot of very wise men and women there who understood business, who really were kind enough to mentor me. And this is
Mm.
an encouragement that I've kind of taken into my life of like, if you have a young professional who's clearly a high capacity person, wants to go
Mhm.
out and do something with their life, whether you're going to get an immediate return on investment or ever get a return on investment, if you can
Yeah.
invest in that person and help them build their career, think about business. And so as part of that, like they blessed me by not just telling me what they were going to decide, but
Mm.
telling me why they were going to decide that. And I've kind of carried that through in all the businesses that I've run. When
Mhm.
people are brought in, they're more likely to be bought in. And so
Mm.
if I can tell people this is the direction we're going, and let me tell you what my thought process was to get there, well, that's
Yeah.
going to develop your people and everyone around you in a way that actually will make your life easier later, because then they're going to have a better decision making rubric for their
Mm.
decisions in their business. So absolutely, I learned so much from that business. Some things to do and some things to not do, but it definitely was a huge blessing for the rest of my career.
So Red Balloon, how'd you mentioned multiple exits, multiple different types of businesses you've been involved with and launched. Red Balloon, how'd you fall on this concept?
Yeah. So one of the businesses I'd helped start, I had sold a number of times. So I didn't have any ownership left. I was still the
Mhm.
CEO of a company. It's about a $50 million tech business. and very valuable, growing quickly, highly profitable. 2020 came around and the world kind of lost their mind a little bit. And my board decided that I was too conservative and Christian for their liking. And so I
Mm.
was removed from my own business for perception, not performance.
Hmm.
And I thought, okay, I have a housing development. I'm on the board of a number of organizations, both for profit and nonprofit. I'm just going to take a couple years and, maybe play a little golf, hang out with my
Yeah.
kids. It'll be fine. And a friend kind of challenged me. They said, look, there are a lot of job boards out there, but there's not a really good option right now for people who just want freedom in the workplace and they want to really be able to show up, work hard, and earn the right to succeed in
Mm.
the capitalist economy. And so they kind of challenged me that I had to make a choice between my job and my values. And I stuck with my values and lost my job. And there will be other Americans who are put in that same situation. And so
Mm.
Red Balloon is just a response to my situation that I found mirrored the situation of many people across America,
Mm.
who, whether it is their personal beliefs, their religious beliefs, or their medical beliefs, cost them their job over the last couple of years.
Wow.
And we wanted to be a place for them to go. So RedBalloon.work is America's largest pro-freedom job board with thousands of employers,
Mm.
millions of job seekers.
Yeah.
And Adam, I'll tell you this, of all the businesses I've run, this business, I get more unsolicited thank you notes from perfect strangers every
Yeah.
day because I had a lady write me recently and say, I just wanted you to know you saved my marriage because of the
Wow.
job that I and my husband have been able to find through Red Balloon. I had
Mm.
a single mom write me recently and say, I found a new job through RedBalloon.work. And after 3 weeks in the new job, one of her two sons says, Mommy, you're not angry anymore. And she realized when you're in a bad work environment, one that
Yeah.
doesn't align with your worldview, with your values, and they're trying to push their worldview down your throat, when they're trying to
Mm.
push their values on you, it's going to affect all of your relationships in your life. And so
Yeah.
being in a position where we can help be part of that employment story for so many great individuals at
Mm.
redballoon.work has just been a huge blessing. So there you go. That's where it came from. And that's what we're doing.
What do you think are some of the reasons for its success? Like to a job board to, there's a lot of different options, a lot of different ways that people are seeking work, whether it's, LinkedIn, all these other things, tons of
Right.
different things. Like, why do you think Red Balloon's been so successful and has gained such traction?
Well, I think this is an interesting lesson for any business. You need to find your niche, and then you need to go hard in that. It's funny
Mm.
when I first launched Red Balloon as a pro freedom job board, and we also do recruiting services and ATS services. We have a bunch of other things we do now. But when I just started as a job board, I had an executive at Career Builder, and I used to run a
Mhm.
division of Career Builder. And he
Mm.
was talking to me, and he says, I don't know that I totally agree with your politics, but you just found a market niche that happens to be half the country and the big job boards just don't want to touch. Well, if that's
Wow.
true, that's business gold, right? If you can find a market niche that is that large and you don't have lots of competitions, it's a huge opportunity. And I
Mm.
think we had some cultural issues in our country, whether it was DEI training or
Mhm.
ESG training or vaccine mandates, that made people kind of take a deep breath and say, I want to work with people who are going to let me live my values out loud. We shouldn't all agree. In fact, I think it's
Yeah.
unhealthy to have everyone agree on every single thing in a lockstep thing in a business. But you do
Mhm.
need people who don't hate your whole worldview and the way you're thinking about the world. So,
Yeah.
so I think that's it. Is we found our niche, and every business should find their niche. And I also think with cancel culture, I've had hundreds of thousands of job seekers come to
Mm.
me and say, I was canceled because I voted a certain way or because I believed a certain thing. And when they say they're
Mm.
canceled, it might mean that they lost their job, but it also might just mean I was told I'm not allowed to get a promotion or a raise at my business because I'm the wrong sexual orientation or the wrong
Wow.
skin color. And so they're looking for a place where they can succeed based on their effort, based on the merit that
Mm.
they bring to their company, which is how America was built in the first place. And
Yeah.
so I just think we happen to hit on a real market need, a kind of a cultural moment, and we picked our
Mhm.
niche and we ran hard down it.
Hmm. And so we've talked a bit from the standpoint of course, the job seeker, right? The end user, but let's talk about the other side of that, like
Yeah.
the businesses that are attracted to that. Like that must be a breath of fresh air for many businesses, right? Like, or you tell me the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I had one business write me and just say, I just wanted you to let you know that every job seeker I hire through RedBalloon.work is cleansing to my culture, because they're just a hardworking person who doesn't want to bring their political agenda into the workplace. They actually just want to bring their work ethic. They want to bring their skills, their abilities, their desire to be successful and make my business successful. So that's wonderful. And so that's the first thing. The second thing that's been kind of interesting is not only do we have the job board, but I think I mentioned the recruiting service. If any of you out there who are listening have used a recruiter before, there's some wonderful people in recruiting, but the model, the structure, the incentives are all broken, because if you pay a percentage of the first year compensation for the person that is placed in your business, then you're incentivizing the recruiter to bring you the most expensive person as quickly as possible, because then they're going to get a bigger check and they're going to get it for less work. And so they're incentivized to go find you someone on LinkedIn, and 20 minutes later, introduce the two of you and hope you're going to hire them. And then all of a sudden you're paying $40,000 for that introduction. And so I always hated that model. And I thought, this is not a way to bless businesses at scale. And so when we started having businesses come to us and say, hey, can you help us with the hiring process? I thought, I want to reinvent this. I don't want to just rely on the fact that, we're a pro freedom job board and you're a pro freedom business, but we have terrible products. I want to make sure that we have world changing products that are really going to be a deep blessing to businesses. So we kind of looked at the whole recruitment process and realized that for an employer, this is a huge decision, right? Because if you get a bad hire within your four walls, it's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars and lots of heartache. 75% of businesses in America in the last 5 years, 75% of businesses in the last 5 years have had a labor-based lawsuit. And so it is not uncommon for a business to be sued by someone who they're interviewing or who they have already hired. And so businesses are now terrified to hire. And obviously, when they're getting people through our job board, they're going to get a high caliber of people that are going to be a great blessing to their organization. But what if they actually just want to hand over that process? So what Red Balloon Recruiter is today is we actually come alongside a business. We understand their vision, their culture, their mission, their values, and then we turn that into an interview rubric. We also write the job posting. We do a compensation review, and then we do the inbound and outbound work necessary to find them the right person, because people applying to jobs often don't have a job. And sometimes you want someone who already has a job, happily employed, and they're the best person for your organization. So we're going to do that outbound work, plus take the inbound people. And we're going to start interviewing and basically do the first interview to make sure that they're not a waste of your time. They're a culture fit and a skill fit. So we do all of that for a flat fee for $4,500. And we've now done it for hundreds of businesses. And I've had these businesses write me thank you notes when they send us a check saying, you are such a blessing to our organization. You're an answer to prayer, because we are saving them a lot of money. They can budget based on how much they're going to spend. And we've filled CFO positions, CEO positions, and we've also filled secretary positions with this process. So that's our attempt to be a blessing to these organizations, to take the burden of hiring and the fear of getting a bad hire off their shoulders and put them in a position where they can succeed as a business. They can focus on growing their business, not being worried about the hiring process. And be able to have a budgetable amount when they're actually doing the hiring. So anyway, so from the employer point of view, it has been really fun to be able to come alongside them and help in that way as well.
So you partially answered this question, but I want you to go further. So you mentioned hiring from, CEOs to the secretary or other things. Like give us a little bit of feel for just kind of like the demographics that you work with in both the the recruiting side and that process, and even just the general job board, which I'm guessing is even broader. But just give us a flavor of it.
That's right. The job board is really all over the map. We're only in the U.S. right now. We have a couple of jobs in Canada, but for the most part, it's just in the U.S. But we do have thousands of jobs on RedBalloon.work. And you're going to know with the blessed assurance that when you apply to those jobs, these are jobs that are not going to necessarily push a worldview that's contrary to what you believe down your throat. We have all of our employers sign a pledge. And so as a consequence, we have jobs all over the map, from medical jobs to construction jobs, technology, all over the map. Well, when it comes to our recruiting service, we generally are going to focus more on white collar type of jobs. So office jobs, I would say the two areas that we've done the most work is technology and media. And so like right now we're filling a position for Tucker Carlson Network. We are filling positions. We filled the CFO for national religious broadcasters.
Mm.
We've also filled a lot of technology people. We filled showrunners for businesses, big podcasts, big media outlets. So we've generally are focused on that white collar side. And part of that is they just have more of an online presence. If you're
Yeah.
looking for a truck driver, they generally don't have a LinkedIn profile. And so it's a lot harder to find those people. But we're going to use a bunch of
shout
different
out to
tools.
those truck drivers. They need to get them LinkedIn profiles up or something up if they're looking, right? I don't know. Throwing that out there real quick. Digital marketing's real.
It really is. Like if you're interested in getting a new job,
Yeah.
you can fill out a profile at RedBalloon.work, but also get on LinkedIn, set up a profile there, because that's what a lot of recruiters are using these days to find people. So if you don't want to go through the pain and anguish of trying to apply to jobs over and over and over again, but you want someone to find you because you're already happily employed, you need to go out and fill out a profile.
Yeah. Just had to give that little pay it forward to all our people out there
Absolutely.
that don't have a profile. Obviously, we want them to go get their profile done on RedBalloon.work, but still get some other social media profile out there if you're looking for a job, or even if you're just preparing for the next one. So that makes sense.
Absolutely.
In terms of tools or education or otherwise for the job seeker, just in general, like what's the experience like when they're going to the job board, especially for those that may watch this and they've never really been on a job board? Like, what's that like?
Yeah, absolutely. So everything on RedBalloon.work is free for the job seeker, because job seekers are in a spot where generally they don't have the resources. They're in a very vulnerable position. They're trying to find a new job. They're trying to support their family. And so we want to be a blessing to them and give them as many free resources as possible. So you can go fill out your profile on RedBalloon.work, and that'll give you an opportunity for employers to find you. So you don't even have to apply to jobs. Either our recruiting team or employers directly will reach out to you and say, hey, I'd love to have a conversation to see if you're a fit for my organization, which is a great experience. It makes you feel really good. So I'd encourage you to go fill out your profile. It's all free. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have a lot of free resources for job seekers. So once you filled out your profile, you can obviously see the jobs that are available and are posted on Red Balloon, and you can just hit the apply button, and it'll just take your profile and shove it towards that employer and make sure that they're seeing it. That's the first thing. But we also have an employee bill of rights and responsibilities, and this is a free resource for job seekers, where you can basically, and this was written by Laura the Labor Lawyer, which is Red Balloon's labor lawyer, and it's fun to say Laura the Labor Lawyer, Red Balloon's labor lawyer, and she worked in California for 20 years, and she went to Harvard Law School, so she is brilliant. And she wrote this for Red Balloon job seekers, and it's an employee bill of rights and responsibilities. And it's basically, what are the things that you're allowed to do at work? Where are you allowed to push back against certain ideology if it's being shoved down your throat? And where is it inappropriate for you to push back? Where are you not going to put yourself in a good legal position if you do that?
Yeah.
So that's a good resource. We have a lot of training videos from the Leadership Institute on how to write a resume, how to interview, project management. We really want to be a blessing to job seekers. And so once you filled out your profile, there's great resources on there, and we'd love to help you.
And so speaking of the law side of things, so I mean, hiring for values alignment and you know, bringing the right people in your organization, that's not only just a good thing for culture, but I mean, there is legal risk, like labor-based lawsuits, hiring, and like all these other things. I mean, of course, you're not the lawyer. I understand that. So we're not going to go that far in this conversation, but just in general, like, what have you seen? Like, what have you seen in general?
Yeah. So, and we do obviously have a labor lawyer on staff, and we're constantly working hard to make sure that we are following the EEOC rules, that we are putting employers in a position where they can be successful, get the right people, and not go into EEOC prison. There's a couple of things that you can focus on as an employer to filter for values alignment without getting yourself in trouble. The first thing is you need to be very upfront about what you believe and what you stand for as an organization. And I know that sounds risky to be able to say that, but here's the thing. We've all had those McDonald's cups where it says the contents might be hot. And that's because if you burn yourself, then they can say, look, it says it might be hot, so it's on you. You can't sue us for burning your hand with that hot cup of coffee. Well, the same thing goes for an employer. If you are a full disclosure about your culture, whatever those cultural distinctives are, if you believe in hard work or in ownership or in integrity, if you are a conservative, or if you're a Christian, or if you're,
Mhm.
have a certain religious belief that you hold dearly and you want to run your
Yeah.
business like that, then you should actually be open about that. Because when you put it on your company website, when you put it on your job postings,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised. Most people are not turned off by someone actually having a belief system that they're not afraid of.
Yeah.
But once you actually do the hiring process, because you were full disclosure about it and you said, this is who I am, it's not a prerequisite, it's not a weird thing, because
Yep.
you can't
But you're not making it
discriminate.
mandatory that they participate in
That's
like
right.
something
That's
that's
right.
against their beliefs, but you're saying up front it is that. So
That's
if you're
right.
a
And
Christian-based organization, it's going to say you're a Christian-based organization. Like,
that's right. That's right. And you can't discriminate against the job seeker and their
yeah,
religious
of course.
beliefs. You can't ask them, like, when's the last time you went to church,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
who'd you vote for? Like, those are illegal questions. But you can
Mhm.
talk about yourself all you want. And so
Yep.
you can say, this is what we do at our organization. This is what we believe. This is what we're excited about.
Mhm.
And if the job seeker opts out and says, that's just not who I am and what I want to be,
Yep.
then you can part as friends and all's well, not a big deal.
Mhm.
If you are clearly discriminating and asking them a lot of questions about protected categories, which you're not
Yep.
allowed to do,
Yep.
then you're going to get yourself in trouble. But you can talk about yourself all you
Mhm.
want. And so that's one of the things we encourage. So there's two things. First thing is, live your values out loud. Whatever those
Mhm.
values are, live them out loud. Make
Yeah.
sure they're out in front, and you're going to protect yourself. The second thing is, as an employer, we are no longer in a labor market where it's a vending machine. You put in a quarter and you get out a great employee.
Mhm.
It takes a lot of work and energy to get a good person who's not going to be a problem for you later.
Yeah.
And so you need to be building an employment brand.
Mhm.
And we all understand as employers, as business people, branding, because we're always marketing to try and
Mhm.
find new customers. And we understand that generally the first time they see your brand, they're not going to trust it. It's the 7th or the 10th or whatever it is
Yeah.
time that they recognize and start to trust your brand. Same thing goes for employment branding. If you
Mhm.
want to be the type of employer that the best employees want to work for, you need to be conscious about that and thinking about all the time, okay, how am I building my employment brand? How often am I
Mhm.
out there in front of the right people? Am I building a talent network of people who have said, I'd like to work for you someday when you have an opening that's a good fit for my skills? You need to
Yeah.
be building a talent network, building your employment brand, making videos about what it's like to work at your organization. You need to
Mhm.
understand that when you post a job, it's an online advertisement for employment. You're trying to talk someone into coming and interviewing and
Yeah.
potentially being your next great talent.
Yeah.
So that's what I would
And
encourage.
if
So
it's authentic, then you want to attract the right person. So, for example, just kind of playing the, that example further about being a Christian organization. If that's what the organization is, they shouldn't figure that out by the time they get like there and they're hired and they're on
that's
board.
right.
And if they don't know by then, like based on the content you're putting out or otherwise, like that would be the problem. That would be the
That's right.
part that could cause a big, issue, even for, and that would be the inauthentic part for the person that's like also spent their time going through the hiring process as well.
That's exactly right. And so that's it. If you
Yeah.
want to have more success, you want to live your values out loud. Don't be afraid of who you are, and build that employment
Mhm.
brand. Be building marketing tools. Um, you know, Getting onto podcasts, talking about why
Yeah.
it's important to work for you. Because remember, if your people are your most important asset, then
Mhm.
you should be putting the time and energy necessary to hiring the right people who are not going to be a problem, who are not going to wreck your culture, but are going to build it.
Yeah.
And the way you do that is with employment branding.
Hmm. Andrew, man, it's been a lot of fun having you on the show today. I just have to ask. I mean, what's next for you? What's next for Red Balloon? What's next?
We are actually launching our applicant tracking system next
Mm.
month, which I'm pretty excited about. And the reason we're doing this is we had a number of customers who actually got turned off or canceled from their applicant tracking system because
Wow.
they were a conservative organization and they just didn't want to serve them. And so we have
Mm.
an ATS, an applicant tracking system, and it basically allows you to build your talent network. It allows
Mhm.
you to access our 100,000 pro freedom job seekers, and it allows you to build a pipeline and a career page and everything to make the
Mm.
hiring process way more fun within your organization. So I'm excited about that. And look, at Red Balloon, we're seeking to redeem the world of work. We want to make hiring fun again. I think over the
Mm.
last 10 years, it has become more terrifying, and I want it to be fun again, to be able to add people to your organization. They're going to build your mission, build your
Mhm.
culture, and build your business. And so that's our mission at Red Balloon. And honestly, if I can do that over the next 10 years, I'll be thrilled.
Amazing. And if people want to follow up, they want to learn more. So I guess two-part question, and maybe it's all on the same site, but the employers, how do they get involved? The job seekers, how do they get involved?
Yep. So you want to go to RedBalloon.work, and you can sign up as an employer or a job seeker there.
Mhm.
And we would be blessed to have you as part of the movement. We
Yeah.
know that we are going to provide an enormous amount of value for you as a job seeker or as an employer. So go to RedBalloon.work.
Mhm.
If you want to follow me, I put out a lot of content on LinkedIn about building culture, around how to manage employees, around how to hire well.
Mm.
And we might even make a little bit of fun of the entitlement culture that we see in today's world on LinkedIn. So if you go follow me at LinkedIn, just look for Andrew Crapuchettes. There's not lots of Andrew Crapuchettes out there. And I would love to have you follow and find out great content that'll hopefully help you build your business.
Amazing. And for everybody listening just and watching this, just so you know, we'll be putting all those links in the show notes so you can just click on them and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or that follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration that can help you along the way in your journey as well. And so, again, hit that subscribe or follow. And Andrew, again, thank you so much for coming on, man, and sharing RedBalloon. Wish you much more continued success. And I can't wait to see this thing continue to grow and continue to see you and your team spread all those blessings, man, because I really do think that's what you're doing, is bringing blessings to the workplace and to job seekers. So thank you.
Thanks for having me, Adam. And thank you, everybody, for listening.